So we have to any which ways start our session. Okay, so hello everyone, salam and namaste to all. I am Sugandha Sharma, your host for today. Welcome you all to this webinar session, which is based on was an ISO 22301 Business Continuity Management System effective during COVID-19. Today's session is being conducted by Mr. Fadi Salsi, who is an industry expert with over 20 plus years of experience. Mr. Fadi from USA is a seasoned risk management expert with extensive proven experience in areas of enterprise and operational risk management. And he has been active in the fields of compliance, cybersecurity, organization resilience in the past 20 years. His international experience includes building a global business continuity framework for a major financial services organization. He is currently delivering service as integrated risk management consultant. He is the founder of Certians LLC. He is also certified in ISO 27001, ISO 22301 LI and LA. Oh, that's not enough. We have more to go. ISO 27005 Manager. Wow, this is awesome. I would like to welcome Mr. Fadi. It is our honor to have you today on the platform. And I would ask everybody, please feel free to ask any question between the session by dropping them under the chat section, as Mr. Fadi will be answering them towards the end of the session. And we will try our level best to make this session as informative and knowledgeable for everyone as possible. And here will you see on the screen that the agenda list that we are going to cover in today's session. Here we go. What is business continuity? What is organization resilience? What is a business continuity management system? The BCMS, which is a business continuity management system, its key elements. The BCMS and pandemic. And the sixth is the BCMS effectiveness during pandemic. And whatever the lessons learned so far, we will cover that too. And post-pandemic, what is the to-do list? So I would like to invite Mr. Fadi Salsa to enlighten us with his knowledge of the industry. Over to you, sir. You are the host.
Very much for the introduction. It is, of course, it is my pleasure to be with you. Allow me to share my screen, mainly starting from where you left, which is the agenda. The whole idea of this session is to clarify basic concepts, basic ideas in relation to what is a business continuity management system, what is ISO 22301, how they relate to the current pandemic situation that we are living and we are passing through, and how we can use such a system to make sure that we can actually benefit from the ideas that we have within the ISO 22301, within the concepts of business continuity, how we can use it to go over and enhance our business continuity and our organizational resilience post-pandemic. This is the whole idea. So what we need to start with is the basic concepts, which is what is after all business continuity. So business continuity to start with is an organizational capability, which means what is a capability for an organization is a skill for a person. So you need to think about it as it is, as a skill that the organization need to build up. You, as a person, you will never born skillful in football, skillful in sports, skillful as, for example, a public speaker. You need to develop the skill. And to develop the skill, you need certain basic elements to lay down, and then you start practicing. And it is the same for any organizational capability. A capability to respond to events, to respond to disruptive threats, uh, is something that an organization will build over time, exactly like a person will build his own skill over time. And it is something that you'd never get all of a sudden by buying a product or by hiring a consultant or by developing your own documentation or even by obtaining the ISO certificate. ISO certificate for an organization is exactly like a driving license for a person. Uh, you only get a driving license doesn't mean that you can drive in the NASCAR, or you can like drive a Ferrari in the Formula One circuit. It's only a driving license that allows you to drive um, in different countries, and you start now building up this skill over time until maybe one day you will be a famous race driver. So it's mainly the same. It's for an organization, you need to lay out the basics, the basic practices that will allow you to develop. So this is mainly what is business continuity. It's an organizational capability that you develop over time. And it is, of course, within the risk management practice. The risk management is this kind of practice that would allow you to try to expect, foresee, and analyze different risks that you are or your organization is or may be subject to, and try to come up with certain controls. Business continuity is this kind of um, risk management practice that is mainly concerned with disruptive incidents. Disruptive incidents cause your mission critical functions to stop. Mission critical services, mission critical processes. So what is a mission critical service for an organization? Is this service that is part from of the organization identity. By identity, I mean is what makes a hospital a hospital. Definitely, it's not the IT department, or what makes a university, or what makes a ministry, what makes a bank, on what those services that are connected to the identity and the mission of the organization. So if they stop, if such services stops, such processes stops, or what we say they get disrupted, then you are not serving your mission. You are not who you are. And the whole idea of risk management is being who you are despite of attacks, despite of problems, despite of any kind of errors. This is the whole idea of risk management. Like when we implement anything in relation to risk management, maybe you are more into cybersecurity because more media than business continuity. Uh, Building cybersecurity, for example, cybersecurity risk management is not about not being hacked. It's not about not having any kind of errors. It's mainly about keeping the delivery of the main services, protecting the major information in spite of attacks, problems, errors. And this is the same for business continuity. Business continuity doesn't mean that you will never get disrupted. You will get disrupted. Exactly like um, a sport guy who's mainly developing his, like, for example, basketball uh, capabilities. It doesn't mean that he will never lose a game. You will lose some games and you will win some, and you will learn in the process, and then you will develop your organizational capability or your skill to be able to win more games in the future. This is the whole idea of building an organizational capability. It doesn't mean that you will never get hacked. It doesn't mean that you will never get disrupted. It doesn't mean that you should have um, foreseen all those risks and you should have expected COVID-19. It doesn't mean so. Building organizational capability in risk management doesn't mean that you will be a fortune teller and you will be exactly expecting a pandemic like COVID-19. It doesn't include developing this skill. The skill of business continuity or the organizational capability of business continuity is trying to get you the ability and the capability to resume mission critical services within reasonable time. You don't have even to resume your services immediately. You don't have to resume your services like within 5 minutes of disruption, within reasonable time. So a major part of business continuity is trying to understand this reasonable time. For certain services, yes, I have to recover them within 2 hours, 3 hours, but some services may wait till 24 hours or may wait till 48 hours. So we have such techniques in business continuity to try to understand this time, so we are able to resume and we are able to resume within time. The whole idea of business continuity is to reduce impact. And for those who understand risk management, they understand that risk is a factor of impact and probability. And if you need to reduce risk, you would either reduce impact or you would reduce probability of this risk. And mostly business continuity is a corrective action control, is this kind of controls that we use after the event, after the issue. In business continuity, not all, but most of our activities are about responding to an event when it happens. Yes, sometimes we try to reduce the likelihood of it happening, but most of the time we normally focus on reducing the impact. When something happens, we try to reduce its impact. So the target, the ultimate target of developing this capability is to achieve organizational resilience. This is mainly the ultimate target of business continuity. And organizational resilience is mainly developing this capability to its optimal levels, where you are able to preserve your mission critical operations regardless of any kind of scenarios. I don't care if it's a pandemic, I don't care if it's even a bomb, I don't care if it's a tsunami, I don't care. The whole idea is being able to resume those operations incident. This is the optimal um, idea of being resilient as an organization. And this composes of the following: being able to protect your most important assets, including or at the top priority list, people, lives, and their own safety. Your facilities, your buildings, your own reputation, the trust you have with your own employees and your own vendors and your own customers, which also include that the event, the scenario, the problem, the disrupting event, in our case COVID-19, for example, will not affect your legal, regulatory, or contractual position. So if there is certain regulation or there is a law, the event will not force you to go and to breach this law or this regulation. The same for your contracts. Let's say, for example, you are a supplier of a major medicine or a major drug for certain governments or for certain hospitals. So this drug, you have signed a contract that this drug will never go out of market. And if it goes out of market, it has to be for a limited time. And now you got COVID-19, and now you cannot produce certain, and now the number of production hours are down, and you cannot, you have issues in resuming this service, and which would put you in a breach of this contract that you have signed with either a single hospital, but also certain drug companies, medicine companies. They would sign a contract with governments. So the idea also of organizational resilience is not being in breach, not forced to breach any legal, regulatory, or contractual issues. And at the end, if you are resilient, you will gain stakeholder trust. Who are your stakeholders? Mainly your partners, your shareholders, your employees, your board of directors, um, your own government, where your organization is in. Anybody who is in dealings or in business or commercial dealings with you is a stakeholder, including the community, including media. All those are uh, stakeholders who you need to gain their trust over time, and which is a very, very valuable asset that you need to gain and you need to protect. Certain organizations, they build and they spend a lot of time building their own reputation, their own image, their own perception, how the stakeholders would perceive them. No, so you would never allow any kind of incident of any kind of scenario to harm this trust, to harm this reputation. And this is mainly why we need organizational resilience, why we need to build this uh, capability. At the end, you have certain business goals. And for those business goals, top level strategic goals to be achieved, your operations must be running. Your operations cannot stop. And that's why business continuity is in direct support of achieving your business goals and achieving your business objectives, because you would never achieve your business objectives with your mission critical uh, operations stopping for each attack and after each or after each a problem here or a problem there. So your business continuity systems are mainly those who would support your business goals, would allow you to gain trust with stakeholders, allow you to be in compliance with your legal, regulatory, and contractual obligations. And of course, it would protect your most valuable assets, uh, which include people, your own employees, your own buildings, and at the end, of course, the perception and the reputation of the organization. So this is mainly what is a business continuity management system and the goal of it, which is organizational resilience. As per ISO 22301, we need to build a business continuity management system. And as per any ISO management system, this management system has mainly seven elements, seven major elements. Each element corresponds to a section or what we call a clause in the standard, in the 22301. Um, and those are typical because you need to build a risk management function. Business continuity is a risk management function. In accordance to ISO 31000, which is the risk management guideline, you need to build a risk management function. Yes, and this type of risk management function is about business continuity, but it's a typical risk management function where you need to start by understanding the environment, by understanding the organization, by understanding the business that the organization is in. There are special issues, special risks, special opportunities in certain industry that are totally different from different industry. Even in the same industry, and in one country we have certain issues that are not an issues at all in another country, or in or even they may be opportunities in a totally different country. For example, in country X, um, you would find a very high infrastructure, a good space where you can build your alternative sites, business sites. You have a good internet infrastructure where you can allow people to work from home easily. However, the quality of people who would you need to run the business continuity and to run the recovery plans are not so well. It's very hard for in certain countries, and I've worked in actually in business continuity. I've worked in 12 different countries, mostly within the Middle East, and you can find people who can act as wardens, who can act as first aid providers. In certain countries, you can find them even more qualified than what you need, and in more quantities. So in certain organizations, in certain countries, you can find like 12 first aid people who can trained. They have even conducted uh, first aids, at least actual first aid in real life first aid, 2 or 3 times successfully. and they know their stuff. Now, in other countries, it's totally the opposite. You cannot find this kind of people, and maybe you can find one, and this one he has taken only one marginal training on first aid, and then you need to develop those guys. On the other hand, those guys who are very well qualified in this country, you can find that their infrastructure is almost damaged. They have no infrastructure for technology. Infrastructure is very bad. You may find that these countries, for example, are very countries where transportation is very hard, where if you need somebody to go from point A to point B, now it would take long time for him to arrive his destination or for the team to arrive their destination, and you need to think about those kind of stuff. On the other hand, other countries are very well prepared. They have the money, they have the stuff, and they have the infrastructure. However, the nature of the people are very difficult. Communication is very difficult. Forcing them to work as a team is very difficult. So each country, each organization, each industry has its own contexts, its own issues. And we need to understand this context before we start actually planning, operating, performing, and improving the business continuity management system. So this is what we need to understand before we actually develop a business continuity management system. Of course, a bit as any risk management practice, it's a governance initiative. And the governance initiative is not a democratic initiative. A governance initiative is a top-down initiative. It's something that the leadership needs to impose on the organization. So you need management support, a very high-level management support for this business continuity management system or for any risk management initiative to work correctly. Part of the support the leadership they should provide you is the money, is the technology. Improving your own technology requires investment. Being able to work from home or allowing your employees to work from home requires investment, and these are the kinds of support that you would need to implement a business continuity management system. Once those three pillars of the framework are in, we can actually start the Plan, Do, Check, Act, or the business continuity management system processes. We need to plan. Part of this planning, for example, is understanding the adequate time for recovery. By the way, you may recover, and you need to understand that you may recover very fast, but the cost of recovery would be very high. So you may plan to recover one service within 1 hour, and you may be able to do so. However, the cost of recovery would be very high. And you may recover it within 2 days. But after 2 days, the cost of disruption would be very high. So you need to find this break-even point where the recovery time and the recovery cost is reasonable, and you do not trigger an unacceptable damage by waiting. So if you think that business continuity is requiring you to recover as fast as possible, think again. You're not required to recover as fast as possible. you are required to recover within a reasonable time, considering cost of disruption, but also considering cost of recovery. Your business continuity is not asking you to actually invest or make any investments that you don't need. If it's okay for the business to recover within 5 hours, you don't have to recover it within 1 hour. So part of planning is understanding exactly those times. Part of planning is an understanding this window that we can actually recover within. And once you understand those in what we call a business impact analysis practice, uh, you start developing business continuity strategies as per um, ISO 22301. And for each strategy, you would create one or even more business continuity plans, and those plans need to be tested. People need to be trained to do those plans or to execute those plans, and then people they need to exercise those plans. Now, testing results, when you test your plans, testing results will need to be reviewed. And this is mainly the performance, where you have certain performance indicators for your certain performance indicators for your business continuity management system. Part of performance is also internal audit, where you are asking the internal audit of your organization to mainly review whatever business continuity practice that you are mainly conducting, with the major target is to improve your business continuity management system. And when you see improvement as a major component, it is a major component of any business continuity management system, you would understand that it is accepted that it may be imperfect at the first time you implement it. The idea of a business continuity management system is to get stakeholders' expectations in regards to continuity of your services, and you end up satisfying those expectations. This is the whole idea of what you need. What is the maximum that you can wait for my portal to be done? You need to understand that from your customers. And within the correct business continuity or business impact analysis practice in this case, you come up with a figure of 4 hours. So this is the expectations. The expectation is that you cannot be down for more than 4 hours. So the whole idea of planning, operating performance, and improvement is about meeting those expectations. You do everything you can to bring up your portal within 4 hours after a major incident, regardless of the incident. So this is the whole idea of what we are doing. We are getting stakeholder expectations and we are trying to satisfy them. The major element of any business continuity management system or any even management system based on ISO is the improvement. You are not expected to implement at the first time a business continuity management system to be perfect. Imperfection is something that everybody is expecting, everybody is okay with, as long as you are able to improve over time. The major elements of any business continuity management system is first of all, understanding your business, understanding your stakeholders, understanding your environment, understanding your issues, and understanding your opportunities. The second major element is the authority that you have as a business continuity department or a business continuity function. Do you have the authority to evacuate people? Do you have the authority to ask people to work from home? Or you still need certain processes, or you still need certain logistics or approvals from top management for this to be done? Well, those are time consuming issues that will consume your recovery time. And sometimes in certain organizations, and we will come into this, top management, they don't even trust the plans that you have. So you work for the whole year, you develop your plans, you have your people, you exercise your plans, and at the end, when COVID-19 happens, top management would tell you, we'll handle this. Your plans, keep them for you. And it did happen. And it did happen in several parts of the world. So if you don't have this second element of the authority and the governance you have, and making sure that you run your plans whenever you need them, uh, you will not be implementing a business continuity management system, a viable business continuity management system. As you may understand, when you implement a business continuity management system, external people, external entities in your organization, which makes communication and coordination a major issue and a major element for a business continuity management system. Everybody needs to be on the same page at the same time for your recovery program to work. And this is not an easy task. That's why you need to exercise it with your own people. You need to exercise the plans and the coordination between different plans. You have a plan to recover your IT, which we call IT disaster recovery plan. And you have a plan to recover a department, let's say the commercial department. So you need communication between them, you need coordination, because the commercial department, they depend on certain IT functionalities. And they cannot perform their part of the plan until the IT is able to recover their part of the functions or the service or the IT capabilities that they depend on. So you need this kind of coordination. That's why they need to exercise it. Whenever you write a plan, it can't be implemented immediately. It needs exercise. And as a result of exercising, you will discover imperfections. You will discover problems. You will discover issues. Those imperfections mainly could be related to technology, could be related to people, could be related to plan itself, could be related to coordination, could be related to governance and authority elements. And then when you discover imperfections, you gap them, you fix them, and this is improvement. Zero one business continuity policy, there is a requirement for the policy to highlight high top management commitment to improvement. When the ISO 22301, or it's mainly following a certain template that is issued by ISO, by the International Standardization Organization. When they tell you if you need to implement a certain management system, you have to commit to improvement. It implies that it is accepted that when you implement it, it is not being perfect at the first time. And this is normal because it is at the end a capability that you build over time and you enhance over time. And you will not get it by a certain set of documents that an external consultant may develop for you, or you will not get it by training or by even achieving an ISO certificate. Now, for us, business continuity people, pandemic is only another disruptive event. It is nothing more. It is an event that happened and we need to react to it. Should we have prepared for it? Maybe, but we don't have to. Now think about it exactly like somebody who would be preparing himself to be a professional football player. Should he prepare for every game, for every move, for every situation, especially at the beginning of his career? He cannot. He practice. There are certain bases, there are certain common skills that he need to practice for, exactly like the certain common elements that you need to implement in a business continuity management system. And then he may face Cristiano Ronaldo, he may face somebody, whatever, he may face Messi, or he may face some weak player in the game, and he had to apply his skills regardless of who is his opponent. He need to apply whatever he knows, and in the process he learns. So for us, a pandemic is only an event, something that a game that we may lose and we may win. However, the whole idea is that we need to learn from it. As a business continuity management system, we need to be a better business continuity management system post-pandemic. This is the only requirement that you have. As long, of course, as compliance is there. You cannot, by any means, be in breach of legal, regulatory, or contractual issues. This is your first focus. And yes, this is something that you should have prepared for. However, other than that, you cannot. It's not the job of anybody to expect pandemic, especially at the scale that we are having them. You apply the skills that you have learned so long uh, until the moment, and you record your learning. You record whatever you have done, whatever proved to be effective, whatever proved to be ineffective, and you improve. And this is the whole idea. As we said, An ISO as a certificate 22301 is simply a driving license. And a driving license comes with no guarantee that you will not make any incident. You have a driving license, but there is no guarantee that no incidents will happen. Accidents will still happen, even though you have a driving license. So this is mainly ISO 22301 and the business continuity management system. It's those basic elements that you implement and you improve over time. And then incidents happens, and the incidents will allow you to improve. As long as you apply those basic elements that will allow you to improve. For a BCMS to be effective during pandemics, the number one thing that you need to think about is that you run those business continuity plans that you have written, that you have exercised before. It is even more dangerous than failing to respond to COVID is the fact that you do not run those business continuity plans that you have prepared. Because you may come out from the COVID based on the instructions, for example, of the board of directors or the CEO. They come in and they said, we will handle this, leave the business continuity department, the business continuity function alone, and we will handle it. And they may handle it. They may perfectly handle it, and they may drive the company outside COVID-19. But the question is, what have you learned from that? And the learning process, was it recorded somewhere? So the idea is to run those business continuity plans that you have prepared before the pandemic. You respect them and you run them, and you understand that they may not be perfect, and you learn and you improve them. And this is something that you need to stick with. And of course, whatever problems may happen, you record the adjustment you need. Business continuity plans may not be perfect, because when we write business continuity plan, we start like daydreaming. We may think something may happen. This pandemic duration will be for weeks. We have those assumptions. And when any assumption goes like wrong, the whole plan is wrong. We understand that. But doesn't mean that the plan should not be executed. The plan should be executed, and adjustments will be implemented, and they need to be recorded, documented somewhere. So the idea, I need you to shift your thinking about business continuity as certain function that you do for compliance only, to a function that will allow organization to enhance over time. Because you, at the end, you have the right to fail. This is a major concept in risk management. We all have the right to do mistakes, to make mistakes. We all have this right. If we do not do mistakes, we will not be able to improve. Mistakes is a way of detecting improvement points. If we are not allowed to make mistakes, if we expect everything to be perfect since day one, then we don't have any margin for improvement. So that's why you need to trust those plans and run them and allow them to improve over time. And no, nobody should have been able to predict COVID-19. It's not an issue with business continuity. It's not an issue with risk management. It's not an issue with ISO 22301. It's not an issue with, there is no issue. The issue is that there is an incident that happened and we need to respond to it and we need to learn in the process. When let me come back with the sport guys, with the athletic, with people who spend most of their time training on how to defend, for example, in football field. And one game, they may get 6 goals, they may get 8 goals, which is like major result in football, in soccer. It doesn't mean that the concept of defending is wrong. It doesn't mean that the way they train is wrong. Things happens, incidents happens, and they need to learn from it and move on. This is how you develop a capability. Nobody was able to predict COVID-19. Yes, but it's not a problem with the concepts of ISO 22301 or risk management concepts. Things happens, learn from it, and move on. And of course, you need to ask for more resources. But pay attention on how to spend or how to use those resources when you get them. Yes, we need more resources because COVID-19 is here to stay for several years, and we need to prepare for it. The first time, we don't have any responsibility. We don't have to predict it. But now we know. And now we understand the resources we need. So the next time it affects your business, it is not acceptable. The first time, it's fine. But the next time, it's not acceptable because now you know what is a COVID-19. Now you know the problems and you should be prepared. Lessons learned from several clients that I've seen. Many clients, they were ISO 22301 certified. They were the first in their countries to be certified in ISO 22301. However, the business continuity was only certain documentation. Some plans were executed, especially those of IT plans. But other plans were not. They were kept as documented plans. Certain people who are or who should be leading the crisis management or leading the scene, as per the document, they were not leading the scene. They were left watching what the organization is doing, and this is mainly wrong. To responding to COVID, because what we document in our BCMS documentation, the decisions we make them at rest. We make them with no pressure. We sit down, we do a workshop, and we make the discussion, and we make the decisions, and we document them. Now, the decisions we make during a crisis are totally different because we are under major pressure during the crisis. And now you would know, anybody of us would understand that the decisions you make at rest are totally different than the decisions you make under pressure of a crisis. So whatever being documented there are those kind of decisions that we made before, pre the crisis, only thinking about it, imagining it, and we made those decisions. They are totally different than the type of decisions that you make during the crisis. That's why you need to trust those plans. And you need to understand that in they are not perfect. They can be adjusted. And of course, you cannot blame the theory. You cannot say risk management is such and such. Risk management is not effective. They couldn't predict COVID-19. They are not there to predict. They totally are not there to predict. They are there to prioritize the risks that you are subject to, and you have few bunch of dollars, and you need to know where to actually um, spend those dollars, because you have a long list of risks that you cannot spend all the dollars you have to treat all kind of risks. You only select those top risks that you think are more relevant to your business. And all of a sudden, one risk that you didn't think of come up. Yeah, but this could happen. One other thing is that we are facing is the regulations, for example, against cloud services. Certain type of information cannot be on the cloud as per central banks, as per government, for example. Those things need to be resolved. Those need to be resolved because you're gonna need cloud services, for example. You're gonna need blockchain. You're gonna need certain kind of technologies that in many countries there are still limitations for it. That is something that we've come to see during COVID. And of course, continuous improvement is the only way forward, because if you are not expected to be perfect, you need to improve what you are in. The post-COVID, guys, for post-COVID, you need to understand the new normal. Each organization need to understand its new normal. Contexts. Now, the context, as we have explained early in the process, or early in the webinar, has changed, and is one of the major things that COVID-19 made, the major effects, that now we have a different context. We may have different regulations, we may have different requirements, may have different expectations from our stakeholders. Now we need to understand them. And we need to adjust and replan our services based on this new normal. Whatever you have done during COVID-19 must be recorded and documented and applied to enhance your documentation. It should be there. It's actually a requirement of ISO 22301 clause 8.6. Everything that you have done during COVID-19 must be recorded and must be documented and must be applied to enhance the business continuity management system. Post-COVID, guys, a lot of organizations transform our services into digital, but be wise. Post-COVID, we will have a major hype for digital transformation. Everybody will start running for digital transformation. You need to take it easy. Yes, you need digital transformation, but don't go with the hype. Be wise, make sure that you update your plans and you request top management support. You need more authority. At the end, to answer your question, to answer the question of this webinar, was an ISO BCMS successful during COVID-19? COVID-19 for ISO 22301 is only an incident that we can learn from. It's only a game that we may win and we may lose, but at the end, we need to learn from it. The correct question that we need to ask ourselves is, was COVID-19 successful in enhancing our BCMS? Were we able to enhance our BCMS due to COVID-19? This is mainly the question that every organization should ask. Was COVID-19 able to enhance my business continuity management system? This is the end of my presentation. Of course, your questions are more than welcome, and I thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fadi Salsa, for illuminating us with your experience and knowledge about ISO 22301 BCMS. And I would like to take a moment to tell everyone about the series of the webinars AIS has launched yet. Alvin Integrated is an ISO compliance training provider who have taken the initiative to offer knowledge of various compliance domains to professionals and organizations in partnership with some of the industry's most seasoned and highly qualified experts with a series of webinars. Today's session was the second webinar under the series. I would like to take a moment to open the window for your questions. If you have any questions, please post under the chat section. I'm just checking. Give me a moment. What questions you have so far? I would request Mr. Fadi, please, if you could please answer those questions. And I think these are wonderful questions I have received from Rishabh Pinesh Mehta. So he says that if an activity is most critical to achieve business objective in terms of operational resilience, that needs to be resumed super quickly, like for example, application software providing stock exchange rates, as well as an activity which cannot afford any data loss. How to achieve RTO and RPO cost effectively, either in case of man-made catastrophe or natural pandemic disaster.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was not able to unmute myself. Thank you very much.
That's fine.
Shama. Yes, look, you need to evaluate your options for any kind of services or technology functions. You may recover them yourself, or you may use another data field, like another data feed, like for example, stock exchange rates. Um, you should, anybody or any dealer or any bank, they should have data feed for stock exchange from different providers. Provided by several providers, and this has already been solved by having data feed from different providers. If you are asking about the provider themselves, who provide those exchange rate data or exchange rate numbers to banks or to dealers, of course they need to depend on several strategies for response. They may use cloud for their own systems. They may use a competitor, which is something that we've seen in several places. They may use a sister company in a different area or a region of the world, especially major companies. They are operating in different regions of the world, in different continents, and each one of them, they have their own data centers, and everyone can depend on the other data center. If they are not a major player in this industry, you can depend on a competitor with no issues. Like, you can sign what we call a reciprocal agreement with one competitor, and where you can use their systems or their data feed um, if you have a problem, and they can use your systems or your data feed if they face face a problem. So you have a lot of options. The idea is that you need to we need to sit down, like as a business continuity people, and the people who knows the business side of this function, and who were the people who knows the technology side of this function, and we need to evaluate all the options. Those are only the options I mentioned, are only few options. Uh, and each option, now we start getting into the details of each one of those options. And at the end, there is a decision of one option against another. And this option, now we develop a business continuity plan as per the option that we select. So you always have an option. You always have more than one option, and you need to discuss the cost, viability, political issues, contractual issues, commercial issues, um, to decide over one option or another. And then you select one option and you build a business continuity plan around this option. Uh, yes, this presentation will be shared by our colleagues at Alvin as a PDF um, at the end of the presentation.
Thank you so much for answering the question, Mr. Fadi. And I hope Rishabh has got his answer. Let me check. Okay, great. So, any questions so far? Manali has asked, if the BCMS plan is conflicting with the current government guidelines, in that case, how to convince leadership for the effectivity of BCMS plans? That's a
No,
nice one.
yeah, look, you have to adjust. You have to adjust the plan. As I said, the idea is not to be in breach. This is one of the major components of
Right.
one
Right.
of the major components of business or organizational resilience. You have to adjust your plans to government guidelines, and then your plan is will never be better than government guideline. Uh, you have to adjust it, and then you need to run it.
Yeah, absolutely. And for this, I have a quote for this, that a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. Okay. I think we are good. We have these questions so far. And I would like to thanks. Okay. I think we are good. We have these questions so far. And I would like to thanks each and every one of you to be present today and for making this event successful. And we hope to see you in our future session as well. Kindly support our initiative and follow us on our LinkedIn page, Alvin Integrated Services. We request you to kindly share your feedbacks in the chat box that you have already shared. Who has not shared, they can just comment on LinkedIn page. I would like to thanks to Abhishek for thanking us, and okay, and Meenu, Praveen, Rishabh, Sanjay, Monali for your question. Rishabh, thank you so much. Ibrahim as well. Monali, thank you everyone, and hope you stay safe and healthy. Thanks, Mr. Fadi, again for so much insightful knowledge you have shared with us. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, Shama. It's been my pleasure to be with all
Same
of
here.
you, and hopefully we've added some insight, some light into this subject. Thank you very much to all.
Thank you. Hope you have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Same to you. Same to you. Stay safe. Thank you very
Stay
much.
safe. You too, everyone. Thank you.